government is actively working with the St. Martin Carnival Development Foundation, SCDF, to address financial challenges, particularly in light of the recent SOK lien on its account. While SCDF's income has been sufficient to cover operational costs, outstanding debts from previous years continue to hinder financial stability. Additionally, last year's decision by the former government to grant a permit to another event competing with Carnival further compounded financial setbacks. That decision led to sponsors pulling out, canceled shows, and a decline in season pass sales, all of which negatively impacted the SCDF revenues. A draft agreement is now in place and will be discussed in the Council of Ministers meeting tomorrow. Provided that the Council approves the proposed solution, Carnival will proceed as planned. We remain committed to ensuring the continued success of this major cultural celebration and economic driver. Further details will be shared once the government finalizes its course of action. Next, I'll go on to public transportation updates. Since the reinstatement of the confirmation letter process on January 16, 2025, the Inspectorate of Economic Transport Affairs has made steady progress in digitizing administrative procedures, improving efficiency, and enhancing oversight of permits and public transportation operation. However, to date, only 100 vehicles was inspected by the Transportation Control Unit. Public buses, 15 out of the approximately under 300. Taxis, 74 out of the approximately 500 plus. G-plates, unregulated transport, 6 out of the approximately 100. T-plates, 5 out of approximately 200. These are the challenges we've identified thus far. Language barriers between operators and controllers, incomplete or outdated registration document, assistant drivers struggling to obtain authorization letters, and operators facing technological challenges with digital registration. All operators, this is my one-time reminder publicly, all operators must complete the confirmation letter process by or before February 25, 2025 to ensure compliance before February 28 road tax deadline. All registered vehicles must have a valid motor vehicle inspection, a valid insurance policy, properly functioning lights and windshield wipers, and a first aid kit and working fire extinguisher. Government, I'd like to also announce, received the draft reports from both the Integrity Chamber and SOAB regarding taxi and bus permit. These findings will guide our restructuring of the sector, which I plan to announce in a separate press briefing. We are now in the final 20-day countdown for compliance. A public awareness campaign will launch via official letters to the Bus and Taxi Association, digital notification via WhatsApp and social media, and press release and media outreach. We urge all operators to comply before or by February 25th, 2025. Our goal is to address all illegal operators and ensure fairness in the public transportation sector. For more information, please contact the Inspectorate of Economic and Transport Affairs at 559-7685. That's 559-7685 via call or WhatsApp. And lastly, as a woman, I'd like to also address sexual harassment in the workplace. It's unacceptable and must be condemned at all levels. No one should feel unsafe, disrespected, or powerless in their workplace. To all women and men experiencing harassment, stand up, speak out, take control of the situation. You are worth so much more than anyone's attempt to belittle or intimidate you. Do not let anyone make you feel inferior. Support is available, And together we can create a work environment where respect and dignity are the standard.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
So I'll start kind of with the hot topic, just very briefly, when it comes to the recent discussions on social media regarding sexual harassment. I don't want to use this time to comment on any specific or individual cases, but what I do want to stress is that sexual harassment in the workplace is a serious issue that affects the safety and well-being of all employees. Creating and maintaining a safe work environment is also a top priority here in the Ministry of Justice as well, and everyone, of course, deserves to work in a space free from intimidation, harassment, or any other form of misconduct. I also want to say that it takes immense courage to speak up about such experiences, and I encourage anyone who feels that they have been subjected to or witnessed inappropriate behavior to come forward. Support for these individuals is available through the victim support services, and I urge anyone to make use of these services as well. Furthermore, yesterday I received the ministry's draft policy on sexual harassment, which has been being worked on for quite a while, and actually by my previous predecessor. And I will be reviewing this thoroughly and to ensure that it aligns with our commitment to a safe and respectful work environment within the Ministry of Justice. Then I also wanted to talk about a visit from the Progress Committee for the VGT project. This is a project when it comes to strengthening border security and our border management. It's a project that's funded through the Netherlands, by the Netherlands. It's one that's been ongoing for a number of years and takes place through a number of different departments. So it's a collaboration with, of course, we have involvement from the Coast Guard, from KPSM, from customs and immigration. So as part of this, also we opened a new police substation in Cole Bay at the Opal building, and I know that we had various members of the media present there. So I wanted to take a moment again to congratulate Chief John on this really beautiful achievement. I think it's going to be a great place, I think, where different departments can come together and work together effectively. And I think that the Opal building and the police substation there is a great step in our battle to address crime at our borders. I think the location is also quite essential. You know, it stands right there in Cole Bay at kind of the precipice of multiple points of entry into St. Martin. We have the border to the French side right there. We have a border on the water, and then we also have the airport. So it's a very strategic choice, and I'm really happy to see this come to fruition. And I also thank the Netherlands and for their support, and of course through the VGT project, because they were the ones that really made this possible. Then I also wanted to talk about just a continued collaboration with law enforcement here. As I mentioned before, there's a so-called a driehoek meeting. It's a tripartite meeting between the PG, the chief of police, the chief prosecutor, and the minister of justice. There was quite a while within the ministry that these sessions were not being held. However, I did find it very important to reestablish and repair the relationships with these partners in the justice chain, and we have since resumed having these meetings, and we've actually had 2 thus far, and we're ensuring that there's a strong coordination between myself, the chief of police, and the chief prosecutor, and the office of the Advocate General. And besides that, we also continue to have daily contact with one another about the real issues happening here on the island and facing us, whether it comes to capacity issues at the prison, road controls, really everything across the board. I'm positive and happy so far for a very fruitful working relationship with those entities. Other than that, I also had very productive meetings last week with representatives of the Ministry of BZK to discuss further collaboration together when it comes to the prison and subsidy support that has been granted by the Netherlands, and discussing how the Netherlands can assist me and my cabinet and this ministry in achieving our shared goals and achieving a stronger, more resilient, and stronger justice chain. So I thank them for their continued trust.
Minister, based on my notes, this case or these cases of sexual harassment within the organization KPSM have been going on in my view, 3 to 4 years. What I know back then is that KPSM, the Landsrecherche, and the prosecutor's office investigated the allegations made by not one, but by multiple officers of KPSM. Can you share with us what was the outcome of those investigations? Can you also tell me if there were any disciplinary measures taken against the person identified as the suspect in this case for unethical behavior? And can you tell me if the person is back at work and what is their current position?
There's indeed one incident that I received files for that took place back in 2022. That incident was in fact investigated, as you correctly noted. There were no criminal acts that were found out of that investigation. However, just because something isn't criminal doesn't mean that, like you said, it's not ethical or it's not right. And at the time, disciplinary measures were proposed over a period of a year. My understanding is that there was not a formal response from the government at that time. However, measures were taken by KPSM where the individual in question was moved somewhere else, where they were not directly over people and to address those concerns at that time. So those were the measures that, from what I understood yesterday, were taken at that time. I also know that currently there is another complaint that is also currently being investigated. From what I understood yesterday evening, those files are now with the prosecutor to see whether or not anything, again, criminal took place. And if not, based on those findings, we will then, of course, assess whether disciplinary measures are the right move at this time.
I'd like to know, Minister, the current legislation in place to address these kinds of matters, it has been very much outdated. Do you plan to update this legislation while in office?
Yeah, so coincidentally, yesterday afternoon or yesterday morning, and I would like to thank the previous minister, Anna Richardson, for bringing it to my attention, because as this came out, she actually reached out to me directly and she said, hey, when I was there, I was actually working just before I left on a draft policy with respect to a code of conduct and sexual harassment. So, she gave me the tip of maybe you can see where it is. So I want to thank her also publicly for sharing that with me and for being so Sam-American and collaborative on that. So I did since requested from the ministry to see where we were. So I received the last draft that was worked on. So we will review that within the cabinet and make changes and also look at what legislative changes are necessary to implement that.
publication Budget 2025. The budget for the year 2025 was approved by Parliament on January 17, 2025. Following its approval, the amendments presented and approved by Parliament must be accurately incorporated into the budget. Since there is no automated budget system, these changes are made manually across approximately 200 pages, covering both the notes book and the numbers book of the budget. Certain amendments have a trickle effect, meaning changes in one area can impact other sections. This makes it critical to ensure accuracy and consistency throughout the document. Unlike previous budgets, where there were minimal changes, the 2025 budget includes 6 numerical amendments, 3 from the government and an additional 3 from Parliament. After verification, the budget will be sent back to Parliament to confirm that all amendments have been accurately incorporated. Once Parliament verifies the changes, the budget will be returned to the government and then submitted to the Governor for publication. It is important to note that the budget is never published on the same day as its approval because this process is part of the mandatory post-approval procedure. However, due to the number of changes in the 2025 budget, it is taking slightly longer than usual. For context, the amended budget for 2024 was approved by Parliament on October 29, 2024, and published on November 5, 2024, a week later, despite having no changes. Due to the standard process, given that the 2025 budget contains 6 amendments, the process is understandably more time-consuming. Savings plan. I am pleased to announce that approximately 260 civil servants have enrolled in the savings plan, which commenced in January 2025. This initiative was introduced following a recommendation received during Finance Fridays. My goal remains to promote finance literacy, and I am encouraged to see so many individuals, which includes my person, taking advantage of this opportunity to improve their financial well-being. Improvements Receiver's Office. During a recent visit to the Receiver's Office, I observed the lines for vehicle tax payments. I would like to begin by commending the cashiers, as I have received numerous compliments on how efficiently the lines are moving. Their dedication and hard work are truly appreciated and play a significant role in maintaining smooth operations. I would also like to commend the residents who have already made their vehicle tax payments. Your timely compliance contributes to the efficient functioning of the system and helps support vital public services. However, I recognize that there is still room for improvement to enhance the overall customer service experience provided by the government. To address this, I will be reinforcing several changes aimed at improving the experience to our residents at the Receiver's Office. 1, seating to ensure comfort while waiting. 2, priority service to the elderly to reduce their waiting times. This is provided at window number 6. And I'm kindly requesting that you please come with the following documents. Number 1, the bill of sale, if it's a new vehicle, and your current valid insurance and current valid inspection. Please have those at hand to expedite the lines as you get to the counters. These planned improvements are part of a broader efforts to continuously improve public service and ensure a more citizen-friendly environment when interacting with government offices. And lastly, sexual harassment. Sexual harassment in the workplace, regardless of the perpetrator's gender, is a violation of human dignity and will not be tolerated. Every employee has the right to a safe and professional environment free from intimidation, harassment, or abuse. The recent revelations of persistent misconduct within the government of St. Martin expose a systematic failure to protect victims and hold perpetrators accountable. I commend those who have come forward despite the fear of retaliation. Your courage is not only admirable, but necessary to break the cycle of silence and impunity. It is appalling that individuals accused of repeated offenses remain in positions of authority, while victims are forced to endure further victimization. This is not just a legal matter, it is a fundamental issue of justice, safety, and integrity, and that demands urgent and decisive action. As a female leader and Minister of Finance, I stand with victims and will use my position to advocate for meaningful change. There must be clear policies within government to address sexual harassment, strict consequences for offenders, and a workplace culture where employees feel protected, not powerless. Too often, we as a society express outrage for a moment, not only to move on when a new issue arises. But this is one matter I refuse to turn a blind eye to. No institution can function effectively in an environment of fear and intimidation, and I will not allow this to be normalized. The government has a duty to act, and I fully intend to see what we do. The time for excuses has passed. The time for real accountability is now. This matter will be addressed during the upcoming Council of Ministers meeting, where we will assess the current mechanism in place and determine necessary improvements to ensure that such issues can be safely and anonymously reported, with strict consequences for any violations. This is an issue that affects the entire government apparatus and will not be tolerated under any circumstances.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
Madam Chair Lady, through you to the Honorable Minister of Justice, there's an article that I released and came out in the newspaper today. I don't know if you got the chance to see that article, and it relates to having a consul, they say in Spanish, embassy from other countries come to St. Martin, visit, and be able to renew passports and those documents that are extremely important for your ministry. This has nothing to do with any other ministry. The letter was addressed to the Prime Minister because he's the one that will be able to have a conversation via Bertel Alzazaka, but this is directly for your ministry. And I have I know sometimes people write articles and, news media just for show, but I have a letter here before me with over 113 people that are right now in a very, very dangerous situation because their home country is at war. They cannot get passports renewed, and this means that they are now illegal on the island or have a problem because they cannot submit without having this document. Then I have 5 specific countries, which is one is Haiti, next one is Venezuela, people from Lebanon, Israel, and Palestine that are here that cannot find any ways or means to get those documents. So I know that and you were not the minister then, through you, Madam Chair Lady, but I did ask what are the possibilities and what could actually happen or how could we handle this situation, especially for people who have been here legally before. Let's just say if in 2019, I received a new passport, it is valid for 5 years. In 2024, it is expired. And that has been now the 5 years that I have been legal and the possibility of becoming a permanent resident now on St. Martin. I will end up with a gap, which means I will have to start all over again. It's niet eerlijk. So looking through de richtlijnen van de minister van Justitie met betrekking tot de landsverordening, toelatingen en uitzettingen, I did not see anything that had to do with that. I saw that on page 15, no, page 28, it speaks of consulaire mogelijkheden. So I'd like the minister to look into that, see what could be done in that sense. Then in that same document, it speaks of, on page 15, we speak of voldoende financiële middelen. And it speaks of 2,000 guilders. And I know that a lot of people living here on St. Martin took the previous minister or the previous one before that one, Minister of Justice, to court and actually won because the minimum wage is set at a number lower than that. So I do believe that that policy or that ministeriële regeling should be adjusted in one way or the other. Then what I'd like to know from the 5 countries that I just mentioned, and when I thought about it, Madam Chair Lady, through you to the Minister of Justice, this is not something that has to be done only for the Dutch side. It could be in collaboration with the French side because there are a lot of people living on both sides of the island that, that literally have this same problem. So if the minister could let me know how much people do we have that live on St. Martin that do not have the Dutch nationality, so those that are putting in papers every year, every 2 years from these 5 countries, how much are waiting right now to be able to resubmit because they don't or they're missing documents? And maybe if there could be a system, because once I bring in a passport or, for example, a birth certificate with an apostille, me as a person, I don't change. So is there a way that we could legalize this document, put it somewhere in the system that the individual doesn't have the need to go back to his country and request that document again? That makes and feels like a burden in my eyes.
I just want to also commend the minister because I've seen the increase within the controls on the various intersections as well. So congratulations with that. And just briefly, updates on the situation within the Simpson Bay Lagoon. I know the crime rate has increased there as well. Also following certain social media groups that are out there pertaining to the cruisers and the boaters. And you see the complaints within that, how you call it, that sector. and that persons are still feeling that they're not really heard. There's still a lot of crime apparently taking place within that industry as well. And I know meetings have been done with different stakeholders as well. Is there follow-up? What's the situation there? Will there also be an increase and for safety for them as well? Because at the end of the day, they also bring a certain income to our country as well.
So indeed, MP Waiver is correct that, despite our joint controls between the French and the Dutch side, we were having not the success that we had hoped within the lagoon, and that, I think between about Christmas Eve up to the first week of January, there was still maybe 12 incidents in the lagoon, or at least reported, the majority of which on the French side. However, in the past week or week and a half, what I can report is that 3 perpetrators were caught on the French side, and since then we have seen that it has made an impact on the amount of incidents. And besides that, we have also received reinforcement to the Coast Guard. I actually swore in 4. I swore in 4 officers of the Coast Guard that came to assist the Coast Guard. They came from Aruba. So we have 4 additional members of the Coast Guard here to help alleviate the pressure that we were putting on the local Coast Guard organization. So that they are assisting both KPSM and the Coast Guard. They were sworn in, so now they also have police authority as well, besides, in addition to their authority as Coast Guard members. So that being said, we do think that now we have a more effective approach. We've looked at how we can broaden this, and of course, from the French side as well, I think the addition of them having a helicopter and for the other reasons that they had implemented one, we are seeing now at least that we're checking to see if this will now make a difference. But at least the apprehension of those individuals, which they had also been caught on the Dutch side and then again caught on the French side. So that has so far seemed to make a difference. And so this matter is being addressed, and I can update as I receive updates.